Another black man named Grover Redding, who lived in Chicago and witnessed
This are the prophet
the
reading them
visit
at talk
of
about
the
now.
Ethiopian mission, began to preach that the visit from the four Ethiopian ambassadors was the actual and literal fulfillment of Psalm 68:31.
Well, him a going on where me kinda touch up on early out. So when I have too much in relation to that, we just a go and listen. And if we have anything to interject, we do that.
This is, shall come out of Egypt. Ethiopia shall stretch forth her hands unto God. Redding also preached that the Ethiopian mission fulfilled Isaiah 18:1 through 7. Woe to the land shadowing with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, that sendeth ambassadors by the sea. And ambassadors by the sea is highlighted because the Ethiopian mission came to America.
Like me say, at this our in when me I mentioned about the four Ethiopian missionaries, and I saw Prophet Reading now get him inspiration and reach to him Bible. And these are the scriptures where Kwasi I elaborate upon.
By boat, in those days, this was before air travel was regular. So the ambassadors came by the sea. Let me read it from the top. Woe to the land shadowed with winds, which beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, which sendeth ambassadors by the sea, even in vessels of bulrushes upon the water, saying, Go ye swift messengers to a nation scattered and peeled, to a people terrible from their beginning, hitherto a nation meted out and trodden down, whose land the rivers have spoiled.
And when I really listen to the Isaiah 18 there, it fit all I know in the diaspora, but it fit black Americans. So when Prophet Reading cites up that I'm a one point, and that really fit the American struggle. I for that matter all of the diaspora, but when I really know a black American struggle, and you listen to that scripture there, Isaiah prophecy there, it fit them for true. Can't go around that.
And then it says, Had not the princes come out of Ethiopia? Didn't four ambassadors arrive to the land shadowing with wings? And
Representing the eagle.
The American eagle,
Mm.
which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia.
Yeah,
Were
man.
not the black people scattered and downtrodden, sold on auction blocks upon arrival, and terrible since their beginning in this spoiled land? Wasn't an ensign, in quotes, flag, raised upon the nation's capital in honor of the swift messengers? These are all questions, And this also mirrors the prophetic tradition of Rastafari, in terms of I and I matching historical events to prophetic events. You know what I mean? So this is a long.
Yeah, man. And in that regards, I can get credence to Prophet Reading with the biblical interpretation matching it up to the American struggle. Because there was scriptures and the four missionaries were come fit Psalm 68 and Isaiah 18. The things that we must say match up. Just like how again it correlates with I and I, but are the similarities. That's where it's top with Rastafari declaring his majesty as God in flesh. That's what separates Rastafari from all others.
Tradition before we even knew about Grover Redding. When I came into the tradition, the elders were doing these things. The elders like Rasiris, other elders matching historical events, matching it up with prophecy. So this is very serious. And then it says the prophet Zephaniah revealed to Redding the interpretation of the Ethiopian mission and the meaning of Isaiah. Redding preached, Woe unto her that is filthy and polluted, to the oppressing city. Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured by the fire of my jealousy. But then I will turn to the people of a pure language, that they may call upon the name of the Most High, to serve with one consent. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my supplements, even the daughters of my dispersed, she shall bring mine offering. In that day shalt thou not be ashamed for all thy doings, wherein thou hast transgressed against me. For then I shall take away out of the midst of thee that rejoice in thy pride, and thou shalt no more be haughty because of my holy mountain. I will also leave in the midst of thee an afflicted and poor people, and they shall trust in the name of the Most High. I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that halted, and gather her that was driven out, and I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. At that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you. For I will make you a name and a praise among all the people of the earth, when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith the Most High. Yili, that said first in Rastafari. This fulfillment of prophecy inspired the faith of Grover, the prophet Redding, to start working. The name of the prophet Redding's organization, the Star Order of Ethiopia, and the Ethiopian Mission to Abyssinia.
Now, the Star Order Ethiopia again, that are the name of Prophet Redding organization or group or movement, not Rastafari.
Prophet Redding studied the Treaty of Friendship that the Ethiopian ambassadors renewed with the United States according to the treaty. And this next part goes over the treaty, and it's so crucial because why this treaty was important is because it conferred upon Ethiopians the rights, equal rights as citizens to trade and to move around as with Americans. And how this was interpreted by Redding and other black people at the time is that this identity that we've been given, this Negro identity or this nigger identity, is a false identity that is an identity of bondage, and that we are actually Ethiopians and free, because they were reading the treaty where Ethiopians were free, to interact and to trade.
Now, again, like I and I, also Prophet Redding, we suffer, a lot of I and I suffer from that post-traumatic slave disorder. And the trauma will come from that, the vestiges of that trauma is the identity crisis where you say are going on right now. The African disconnectedness amongst diaspora and the identity crisis where, like I mentioned earlier, to everybody, indigenous, Hebrew, Israelite, Muslim, Christian, you name it. This is that post-traumatic slave disorder, identity crisis. At this, the Virgin are reference right now. And because of that, it casts where you see we are going right now. The diaspora, you see it get more prominent and prominent, African disconnection, and the diaspora who's more special than who. All of that are because of the diabolical enterprise called the transatlantic slavery that brought captives and turned captives into slaves. And they destroyed our identity. And at this Rastafari restore. Rastafari have given us and connected I and I to that divine space where we call Ethiopia, the motherland. Out of this geographic land space, the whole continent is Ethiopia for Rastafari. But we specifically identify Ethiopia. Why? Indomitableness, unconquerable. And this is the spirit I and I uphold and embrace as Rastafari. And Ethiopia, and again, because of its divine agency, it is the origin of all things, says Lucy and even older than Lucy now, because every day them dig up archaeologists, you want to find more information. And Ethiopia have one of the most dynamic, diverse DNA database in and more ancient will show again outside of DNA scientists, archaeologists, fossils show say Ethiopia everything spring from. This is why I and I as Rastafari declare Ethiopia our indomitableness, anciency, I and I identity. This is I and this is why I and I claim Ethiopia. And out of that space, all school attack manifest and including the concept of God. And this is why I and I as Rastafari now reclaim that and espouse and declare I and I divine as his imperial master, Emperor Haile Selassie. So shall it be in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. And that's all it is, you know. This is Rastafari, it is yours. They never gave it to you. And at that, Redding now, I declare in a him own way, but him now declare the divinity of Rastafari. I keep being repetitive, but we have to.
How do I view what we've been saying so far, Ella?
Well, we are being called home. You listen to what is being said, in the Bible and just by the regular people. It's a call to come home.
I want thing with the elder though. I will see say father time I catch up with him, just like the whole I and I. The elder consistent with the reparation. Go back home. Come home. Come home. The elder consistent. We have to give the elder that still.
Prophet Redding studied the Treaty of Friendship that the Ethiopian ambassadors renewed with the United States. According to the treaty, Article 1, citizens of the two powers, like citizens of other countries, shall be freely able to travel. Hold on, let me bring it up here. Citizens of the two powers, like citizens of other countries, shall be able to freely travel and to transact business throughout the extent of the territories of the two contracting powers, while respecting the usages and submitting themselves to the tribunals of the countries which they may be located in. So that's Article 1. And this is a marvel to Black Americans who are in Jim Crow, that these Black people from Africa were being given this type of respect and privileges in America that hated Black people with a perfect hatred. Art.
I know something too. And this why currently too, you see the Babel Tower psychology, another and aggressive recessive people and master it. I imagine Black Americans see some Black people identifiable as Black through them skin, but yet still them are whole America I deal with them with respect and reverence on a certain level, and I deal with them like equals. You can't see why I want like Prophet Redding renounce and drop him American status and identify as a Ethiopian because respectability and they want to be respected. And this is why I'm declare Ethiopianship. And that's because that, and America deliberately too. Because when them say that, and this is all right now, Black Americans I get fed up because them say every other Black people are coming to America and I excel. And these Black people coming to America are excel, are immigrants as them call them, and them stuck. But what Black Americans don't realize is that it's a mindset. And immigrants have a different mindset from Black American mindset. And mainstream America deliberately, when immigrants come in, them deliberately program them and tell them say Black American lazy. And by virtue, them have that extent, and Black Americans by virtue, the things that my immigrants are work for, Black Americans not going to work for it because them know them value. And this cause the stigma. And this is by design because the divide and continue to divide and rule. The Tower of Babel psychology amongst I and I, where them always institute and implement divide and rule.
In Article 3, the two contracting governments shall reciprocally grant to all citizens of the United States of America and to the citizens of Ethiopia all the advantages which they should accord to the other powers in respect to custom duties, imports, and jurisdiction. A lot of people coming out. Floyd Jarvis is the next man that knows this history. Prophet Grover Redding. Big up yourself, Floyd Jarvis, doing some powerful work with the prison ministry. This is a history that is getting more highlight, and as Rastafari Independent Non-Aligned Media, my elder contacted I, sent I and said, read this. And they say, they want to bring this to the people. And say, sure. This is the author. He said the holy commandment, love ye one another, O children of Ethiopia.
Oh, yes, man. Oh, yes, man.
And for by no other way can ye love the Lord your God. So all of the petty differences.
Yes, man. Hey, put it aside, man. It's not important.
Serious. We're continue, Elder.
But it says love each other. That's the thing I love about it, And the Ethiopian, them always put that up front.
I just want people to see the imagery here. I'm making it large. We can't see, but we see the line of Judah. This is a treaty between the most powerful emerging nation, because this is when America is rising at the time and taking over from the British Empire. This is after World War One, and not before the Great Second World War. And we have this treaty, and the treaty is being stamped by the line of Judah, Rastafari tradition. So it said, to Prophet Redding, the treaty revealed two very important truths. One, Ethiopian citizens were to be accorded rights and privileges that he, as a black man, descended from Africans brought to America against their will in chains, board slave ships, was barred by Jim Crow laws and customs. And two, Ethiopia in the future planned greater contact with the United States for commercial purposes, build an economic base. And this is one of the things that I realized even building this platform, how difficult it is to get Rastafari people to support this platform. When they know that we're doing great work here, but to support financially, because we have these concepts that money, we never deal with money. You know what I mean?
Kwasi, I don't think that's the reason why the reluctance in a support. It's a history of black exploitation. Enough ones and ones coming from the era of Marcus, when especially all them taint Marcus Garvey, the image of Marcus Garvey, the propaganda against Marcus Garvey. Say Marcus Garvey a thief, and Marcus Garvey take the money and enrich himself. Enough ones and so there's a history of black exploitation. Enough ones and one come and present good ideas and tell us say it's for like another example of that is BET. The formative stage of BET when it come on the market was about it's a for us by us. And what happened to BET after them start make money and them enrich themselves? Them sell it off back to the people them sell it back to the people them for continue our exploitation. So enough times, enough ones and ones is not say them no want support, but them reluctant because of black exploitation. The black ones and ones, them and those who are amongst us who have black skin, will utilize black skin to infiltrate and then exploit. And then them go run back to their master, go rub shoulders with their master. And this is the reason why the reluctance is there.
Money is evil. We have to get rid of these concepts. This is why we can build institutions that employ people. And that is where I am right now, you know what I mean, is that if we're not building institutions right now as Rastafari.
And again, like I say, it's not because we don't want to build, because Marcus Garvey is a perfect example. Places like Black Wall Street is a perfect example of our togetherness in them times. The northern aggressive, recessive people study we, and then them strategize and give some of us privilege for trick and exploit the rest of us. And then we go back in a for them community and our money go in a for them community and buy for them products and for them goods because we want to look successful. This is why. This is why it's hard for you to get support in a doing, because where you want to do, in truth and in fact, it should be done from a Rastafari perspective. I may agree with you, but at the same time, you can't just broad brush and I say what you say. You have to take into consideration the historical remnants of black exploitation amongst I people. We exploit I. We act black skin, but their mindset is of a white perspective.
Generation, the generation of them that seek it. We are failing because our elders established this liberty to the four corners of the earth. These are our ancestors that are establishing the concepts. That's what we're reading about right now. Ancestors that established concepts of the divinity, acknowledging that Rastafari was our supreme leader. That's what these ancestors really did, blazing that trail. And then we had the great ancestors in Jamaica that really blazed a trail that we could wear our natty, that we could have ital, that we could, free up the ganja. All of these things, you know what I mean? So each generation has their role. Our role is to build the institutions, the industrialization of the liberty. We have to scale the liberty and now build. I should be able to employ a staff of Rastafari people so that we have a world-class media operation. But how do I do it? I can only do that with the people supporting. So I want them to see again that Ethiopia in the future plan greater contact with the United States for commercial purposes. So trade, economic development, this is what His Majesty was dealing with the treaty and why he sent his emissary, one of the main reasons.
Well, don't forget His Majesty at them space in time I operate from governmental to governmental. Diplomacy and trade relations. Rastafari and establish a government yet. So we have to get that. And only way we can get that are coming to the one mindset as a people. A oneness amongst I says in the diaspora. And Rastafari is that weak as far as I is concerned. But we have a whole heap of work to do. But first, we have to decolonize our mind first.
So I just want to emphasize that part there. The article goes on to say, thus, on one hand, the Prophet Redding, seeking to escape his second-class Jim Crow status and condition, saw salvation in Ethiopian citizenship. As an Ethiopian, he and others will be able to freely travel and transact business throughout the extent of the territories, with the security of those engaged in business therein and of their property. Therefore, Prophet Redding sought to renounce his American Jim Crow Negro status and become a citizen of Ethiopia.
That I guess you can show the ignorance of Prophet Redding. The belief that him can just denounce by burning flag and say, I am an Ethiopian, so to give him the right to travel from America go anywhere else in the world. And I say it work. But nonetheless, we commend him for being bold enough to declare. Now I mean, but as far as government to government, you can't just pick yourself up and go anywhere in the world. You can't do that. You have to go through proper channels. Even if you declare yourself a sovereign, you have to go through FIDEM codes and have documentation for sure say you operate under your sovereign. Prophet Redding, in ignorance about his ignorance in a one sense, but it's a desire to be free, it's a desire to be your own. Why Prophet Redding declare and do the things that we him do.
Pledging allegiance to the government of Rastafari. On the other hand, biblical prophecy said that the Ethiopian ambassadors would come to announce the return of the scattered Ethiopians to Zion. Therefore, reasoned Prophet Redding, salvation in this lifetime meant becoming Ethiopian to escape Jim Crow. The Star Order of Ethiopia in Chicago would gather the scattered Ethiopians to wait on the Lord for their return, all the while preparing themselves for business in Ethiopia. For $1, the Star of Ethiopia provided an Ethiopian flag, a small pamphlet containing prophecy related to the return of black-skinned people to Africa, a copy of the treaty between the United States and Ethiopia, and a picture of Rastafari. Pamphlet quoted Zephaniah 3, 8 to 10, Isaiah 18, and Psalms 68, 30 to 31, and
And like me say, lack of knowledge are out of ignorance. But it's an ignorance of we're steep in a desire and wanting to be free. And Prophet Redding now I sell the pamphlet, the treaty, and all these things for gather money capital for support my organization. So me I come from, but in the ignorance among him or within him circle, believe all of that. Believe is that when them buy these pamphlets, them becomes Ethiopian. But nothing is farther from the truth. But you have to go back in them space and time there and recognize back them time enough people can't read and write too tough. So if them trust you and believe you, them are gonna do what you say. And most of the time I saw black leadership go. If we believe and believe in you and trust you, we're gonna follow you. But I don't want that for Rastafari. I want Rastafari to know and operate in the know. We don't want to follow. If you know, and then all of I and I, depend one accord, work together and make the change.
the following message on their membership application. This is to certify that my name was given to Elder Grover Redding, missionary to Abyssinia, to show my brothers in my motherland that I am with them, heart and soul. I have signed my name as an Ethiopian in America in sympathy with our motherland, Ethiopia. I henceforth denounce the name Negro, which was given to me by another race. So we in Jamaica would later say, how could I give up a continent for an island? You know what I mean? And other reasoning. And the Penny Cook, all the eyes see,
Yes, sir.
the works of Grover Redding. Were you familiar before reading this article with Grover Redding, the prophet?
No, no. I have no knowledge of this part of history. Yes, the Ethiopian government has given us a letter, and I sent you a copy of it, and the letter is telling you that all is in order, and all we have to do is just get busy, get to work. What it is we need to do, attract the professionals to come in so that we can start this work. Yes, it is a beautiful work, you know. I mean, while Traore is doing things on his side, we can be at the other side doing the same thing, and then we meet in the middle and celebrate. Yes, man. Oh, Lord, man, this thing is too beautiful. Yes. Black people, it's our time now. Our time now. It's time for us to get rich. We have been poor long enough. Yes.
Now, this is my position again. The professionals. Yeah, you can have only for professionals, but are they going, even going, returning back to Ethiopia as black exploiters? If at that, them are go back to Ethiopia, for might as well them stay over here because them are cause destruction, just like where another aggressive, recessive people them do. In a colonialism, the only difference I have now is that these black professionals going to go into Ethiopia and I represent them white the colonial mindset and I exploit the Ethiopian them, but only the difference is them are colonizing our black skin. And I don't want that. Rastafari for first enrich the minds of the professional within the teachings of Rastafari. And then when we go to Ethiopia, while we're there on the Ethiopia side, we work and show them the teachings of Rastafari and what Rastafari bring to the table as Rastafari professionals. And therefore for organize and bring forth that unity. But Rastafari and a whole can't just go with this delusion because of Ethiopia and this dream. We have to always keep in mind, say, I and I is a unique set of people, you know, because of the diaspora, you know. And the Ethiopia, and we have a different kind of cultural expressions where totally foreign to the Ethiopian them. And we have to always keep in mind, say, 80 different ethnic groups in Ethiopia. 80 different ethnic groups, and all of them have their own culture. So when Rastafari come now, how Rastafari will penetrate that? This is why enough of the elders them in Ethiopia know I experience or them I experience. Cause them got experience the cultural differences within Ethiopia. And again, me repeat, and all Ethiopians see His Majesty, or I see His Majesty. You have the Oromo people, them enough of them don't like His Majesty. And you have the Afar people, them, especially people them of the Muslim sentiments in Ethiopia. Them have problem because they want to rule Ethiopia and His Majesty was a stumbling block in them way. And if you go before His Majesty Menelik, and if you go before Menelik, you have Johannes, and if you go before Johannes, you have two orders. You see where I come from? So Ethiopia is a Christian kingdom, so you have to know. And because why? You have to go all the way back from the 7th century when Islam come in. When King Najashi give sanctuary to the Muslim in Israel, and from that time forth, them go up in Ethiopia and penetrate the mindset of the people. And then when Ahmad the Grand come in, and him now dominate the whole of the northern part of Ethiopia and lock the seaport them. I saw the Portuguese them, the British them, and the Italians them come in because the Ethiopia fight against Islam and Egypt. And that's a Portuguese come in. And them come help Ethiopia and our Christian principles. So when Rastafari talk about repatriation, we have to know we can't go back to Ethiopia delusion. And we can't go back to Ethiopia or in Africa for that matter with the colonization, the colonized mind. Because we're going to bring the same the dirty principle we learn from the white man going to Africa and a chaos all over again and problem. So when we go there, we have to edify our mind as Rastafari and go to the Rastafari principle. As professional and without a question, without a doubt, I know say it's I and I go with manifesting His Majesty. There's no doubt in my mind that I and I will go further in Ethiopia and Africa for that matter. But we have to keep in mind that we will be faced with cultural differences. And we can't fool ourselves. And one of the stumbling block will be language. Even though we say Rastafari is global, I and I in the diaspora have a language barrier. And which language you are going to learn? All of the countries, the 50 and how much countries in Africa, most of them have them different. But the beauty about it because the power of the colonization of the white man, English is known in a lot of them. And this is why enough and I know want to be Ethiopians take on to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and I learn American, I learn the gays. And they say it there,
I'm glad
we have to fix up.
And please, Ella, tell the people they need to support the Lion Voice Network because I don't know, I keep calling my brothers and sisters to support the platform. I don't know if my voice is irritating or what they do wrong.
No, man. You know, our people are really, they're very stubborn. So yeah, it's gonna be hard to get to do that, but don't give up. Keep trying, and then eventually they will. Yeah.
And I just stubborn and alone, I trust, lack of trust. And I only for deceivers in a black skin come. That is the problem. But Kwasi, you're there on your righteous mission. You just have to show by your works. And then you have to build trust. And when you build trust and the people them trust you and know say if Kwasi say $100 over this and $100 I go buy a repeater to put out the information or buy a station and that you gotta buy, but you have to do that by your works, King. You asking for money are one thing and you will get it as long as the people win your trust. And you have to show the people them say you are trustworthy. You are not a black skin exploiter. And they say that. So you just go and do your work like the elder say.
The Prophet Redding expecting Prince Tafedi to come out of Ethiopia with arms outstretched in the very near future. Chicago Defender, December 20, 2019. That might be 1990. To the Chicago Defender newspaper, June 25th, a headline stated, Fanatics burn US flag, murder to shoot police imposter of Abyssinian government, stage gun battle in street. So this is the militancy of the Prophet Redding. Rastafari people have never heard of this, you know what I mean? So this is history that most have never heard about. But this is important because this is 1919, people picking up arms, burning the US flag in the name of Rastafari. It really is something serious. So this is the article. It says 2 white men are dead and several seriously injured following a reign of terror which began at 35th Street and Indiana Avenue last Sunday, June 20th at 7:30 o'clock. Hostilities started when Grover Redding, alleged chieftain of the Star Order of Ethiopia, an Ethiopian missionary to Abyssinia, burned the United States flag in front of Entertainers Hall. Redding, clad in regalia styled after the Abyssinian customs, led a parade on horseback to this point after being driven from Trinity M.E. Church, 30th Street and Prairie Avenue by Reverend Barber, who objected to the seditious language used by Redding and his followers who had engaged the church for lecture purposes.
Reverend Barber now want Prophet Redding come mash up him dollar. So of course him run him way. Because why? Prophet Redding I do is not feasible. It more be grounded in emotion. It's not strategic. Hence it end up how it end up. But the Reverend never allow Prophet Redding to mess up the source of income being a preacher, man. That's why I'm running away.
Redding engaged in short ceremony before he applied the torch to the flag. Policeman Joseph Owens of the Cottage Grove Avenue station was attracted by the flames and rushed to the scene to prevent Redding from burning another flag. So a man come with whole heap of flag, a US flag from burning, it look like. And the police running upon him. Owens, according to the witnesses, attempted to arrest Redding. And when he placed his hand on the latter, 4 shots rang out in rapid succession. Owen sank to his knees, but later regained his feet, staggered to the drugstore, and sent in a riot call. So he put his hand to stop Redding from burning up another flag, and it looked like he just unload upon him. Same time, bad man thing he man deal with.
Well, right there, so you have to be careful. Because never say Redding shot him, say him put him on Redding and then gunshot ring out. It not necessarily means say Redding do the shooting.
I don't know why he took it to that extreme at that time, and that kind of fiery extremists. We don't encourage that behavior, none at all, because at the end of the day we could have done better with Redding with us a longer time. He could have, this kind.
I don't understand what you mean, you don't know why I'm doing it. Oppression. Just a talk about Jim Crowism. So that was a terrible moment in American history. And then, in a theme mind, declaring his Ethiopianship means Rastafari is beholden to him and him followers. And Rastafari that come save him when it starts. And that is why I'm doing it. He's an Ethiopian, and by virtue of being an Ethiopian with him declaration, afforded the right of Ethiopian citizenship and the rights and privileges of all Ethiopians. So this is where him do. That is why I'm doing what I'm doing. But he was just being delusional. But nonetheless, in my mind, that's what he's doing, because Rastafari stretch forth his arms and come hear them as kind to the fulfillment in a film delusional mind about the prophecy. That's what that was all about. So stop going like you don't know.
Behavior, we don't encourage it for the young people. And Rastafari, we are now known as a peaceful movement. We use word, sound, and power, as opposed to this kind of radical.
Yeah, this is now, when we talk about Rastafarian, this is the Rastafarian mindset. We use word, sound, and power. Rastafarians are afraid of this to go up against the system. They are afraid to go up against the system. Which, I not blame them in a sense, but at the end of the day, sooner or later, it's going to come to pass. Rastafari have to stand up. But guess what? We're not going to do it like Prophet Redding. We have to become strategic and position ourselves. Like our father teaches, Imperial Master Emperor Haile Selassie the first. Jah Rastafari. We have to be strategic. And being strategic means we have to put our house in order. And even when Dijama Kwasi, a maneuver from media network where he want to set up, that is good. But nonetheless, if him know him history and know him story, him supposed to know. It's not the first time black people organize and set up them own things in the land of the oppressors, and when the oppressor ready, them come and destroy it. Black Wall Street is the perfect example. Seneca Village, which is now Central Park, is a perfect example, and many more. So you hide behind peace and love and being a Rastafari and all you want. But anytime you organize and centralize and go against it, once you organize and centralize and you build up institutions, eventually you're going to have to face the very system, and the system not going to allow you. So yeah, Prophet Redding, it wasn't strategic, it is an emotional outburst because of oppression, Jim Crowism, and he want him to be, and he want to be, he want to, not going to say special, he want to align himself with a sovereign nation, which is Ethiopia. And him believing, so when him declare him Ethiopianship, with all of this was sparking a race war, Ethiopia that come save him, but him not know say at the time, Ethiopia wasn't, it's a sovereign nation, but it was technologically equipped to even deal with America, as later on it come to prove in the 1935s with Mussolini. So Prophet Redding, he was delusional and he might operate from his emotions. And that is what happened. But Kwasi don't say you don't know why the man. You see, fearfulness is a hell of a thing, and most of I and I, the implementation of fear in I and I is a hell of a thing, and it cripple with. So therefore we want to scurry and tiptoe over certain things. But eventually it's going to come to pass. Because anytime you talk about institution and governance, you have to face opposition. So when you talk about love and word sound and all of that, it's only for a time. And that is why I don't like the Rastafarian mindset.
You know, more demonstrative kind of vibration, because this is not sustainable. But again, we're here in 2025 reading about it, so his name is still written in the history. R.L. Rose White, a sailor from Company G15 Regiment stationed at the Great Lakes Naval Training Station, ran to the rescue of the officer and made an attempt to secure the flag, which Redding was about to burn. So this shows you how important the symbology of the flag. People are literally giving their life to defend the U.S. flag. Redding is taking lives for his right to burn the flag. So symbology, this is a war over symbology. Redding, so the man running to rescue the officer and made an attempt to secure the flag, which Redding was about to burn. Mason Furno and his son, alleged to be Abyssinians and followers of Redding, made for a nearby auto in which several high-powered army rifles had been concealed. So it looked like Redding brethren them come with the firepower. So it looked like this is a plan. So similar to the Coral Garden incident where you had some radical man who come with a plan to take down some man that day. It looked like Redding was making a last stand and then convince some man to jump.
The Coral Garden incident, that are the face card when them used to attack Rasta. At them stage that. Because when you're going at the issue of the Coral Garden, you know, what happened to Rudolph Franklin? The man with them say orchestrate the gas station. What happened to him? Him disappear. So for all we know, a state agent of Bustamante inside that to persecute Rastafari because they want to turn build out the coral garden in a tourist resort right now. Where you have the tourist strip now, you have the Half Moon Hotel and all those hotels out there. Currently, the reason was them want to get rid of the Rasta, so them stage all of that to get rid of the Rasta. So Kwasi, know what you talk, know what you say. Because Redding thing and Coral Garden are two different things. The Rastas, them never stage go for make no stage no insurrection against the government of Jamaica. Maybe Redding did plan based on the things that we already look like Redding bonus orchestrate for spark a war, so therefore Ethiopia come help him in our mind. As because him declare him Ethiopian citizen, but Coral Garden is something totally different. There's a whole lot more to the Coral Garden incident than what the propaganda media put out. But Rasta burn down gas stations and all them things. A whole lot more behind that, king. So now we are saying. Now this kind of mindset is where I don't want for Rastafari. I don't want Rastafari to become fanatical. I don't want Rastafari to have knowledge of self. Knowledge of self and kind. So we know exactly what we are dealing with and what we are doing. And anytime we do, it is strategic. No emotional outburst and no fanaticism. Rastafari can't afford to be that and do that like Prophet Redding. And Prophet Redding is an example for I and I to take note of. And also Rastafari can never be that.
Destruction will take place, but God's chosen people will be all right. The Chicago Commission on Race Relations reported that the reason for the flag burning was intended to symbolize the feeling of Ethiopian followers that it was time to forswear allegiance to the American government and consider themselves under the allegiance of the government of Ethiopia under Rastafari region and plenipotentiary of Ethiopia. It's our power movement, and that is what we advocate on this platform, is demonstrating our power through economics now, where we can, instead of having to arm and go into the streets, we can exercise economic power because we know all of the
economics power is all good. This is my question. But you delude yourself. Because when the powers that be, like I mentioned already, our history has already shown us. The great Honorable Marcus Garvey, the UNIA, where them destroy Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, them destroy Seneca Village, them destroy Rosewood. All of these people are independent black nation, we build by them economics, but yet still right now they are no more. So what gonna make you different when you decide to build economics and build institutions in a them kingdom and them decide to destroy it? How are you going to protect it? That's the question I'm gonna ask you. How are you going to protect your kingdom? So one love and all is just a utopia, and it seems like you are operating under the precepts of Rastafari and utopia. One love, it's not going to work.